Algebra 1, Lesson 40, Quotient Rule for Exponents, Distributive Property of Rational Expressions that Contain Negative Exponents. Alright, so this is going to be pretty similar stuff that we're just adding a little bit of extra complexity to. Again, the steps won't change, but the way that the problem looks will. It usually looks scarier than it is. So, first we have to simplify these two terms, and they have to write the answer with all variables in the numerator, which means we can't have any numbers in the denominator. So, we'll start with A. Now, to simplify, we'll remember that if we ever have the exact same number on top of each other, that's equal to 1. So since we have x negative 6 over x negative 6, those can cancel, and they equal 1. Now, we have y4 over y5. Well, 4 of the y's will completely cancel out, and that would just leave us with y1. And then we have the opposite on the z's. We have 2 z's on the bottom, 5 z's on the top, so the 2 z's will cancel out 3 of the z's, which makes the top z cubed. So if we were to rewrite this, we now have z cubed over y. But the directions told us to write all the variables in the numerator. So we have to bring this y to the top. And when we do, the exponent of positive 1 changes to y negative 1. And that's our answer right there, z cubed y negative 1. If you didn't understand how I was canceling these, there's another way that you can think of this. If we have I'll take the y for example. Since we have y4 over y5, we could think of that as being y times y times y times y over y times y times y times y times y. So we got 5 on the bottom, 4 on the top. These are both the same number. So we can just cancel 1 for 1, and then we're left with 1y on the bottom. And then the same would be the opposite for the z cubed. So if you have numbers like this, the best way to cancel them is to just subtract them from each other. Now, this gets a little bit tricky if we have a positive on the top and a negative on the bottom. That's what we see in B. So we get m4 over m negative 2. I can't really cancel these because they're opposite signs. But I can do is I can take this m negative 2 and I can move it to the top as m squared. So m squared and m4 would give me m to the power of 6. I'm going to rewrite the answer down here to save space. Now if I look at P3 and P4, they both have the same sign, so I can cancel them. The 3 will cancel out all of the 4, and I'll just be left with P on the bottom. Now we have Z10, Z negative 6, same problem as before. I move the negative 6 to the top to make it Z to the power of 6. 6 and 10 gives me 16. So now I have Z to the power of 16 on the top. And those are done. Lastly, we have D. This D negative 2 is going to get moved to the top to become D3. D1 and 3 add up to D4. And then we have the same problem we had last time. There's a P in the denominator, but we need it to move to the top. So we'll take that invisible exponent of 1, move it to the top, and make it a negative. And so our answer becomes m6, z16, d4, p to the negative 1. Now, we have to apply what we just learned in distributive property. So, we all know how distributive property works. We just multiply like this. And from here, this first numerator is going to turn into x4 z negative 3 over m cubed. Then we put our minus sign. This second term, the negative 3 plus 1 gives us z negative 2. So when we combine these, we add the exponents. So then we get 3 z to the power of negative 2. And then on the bottom, we just get m squared. Now again, the directions tell us to write the answer with all variables in the numerator. So this m cubed and this m squared are in the wrong spot. So I'll move them both to the top and make them negative. So the first term is now going to be x4 z3 m negative 3. We'll copy our minus sign. Then we have 3 z negative 2, and then the m becomes m negative 2. And that's our answer. I'll go ahead and do practice D just for extra. If you've got it, then that's great. You don't have to finish the video. But it's distributive property, but our number is on the right, but that's okay. We can multiply left to right or right to left. It's not any of a change. So we have m negative 5 plus m negative 2. That gives us a total of m negative 7 in the numerator. The denominator, we get 3cw4 xm. There's probably a better way to write all those letters, but that's what we've got. We got 3cw4 x and m. Copy our minus sign, and then our numerator for the second one becomes cw2 m negative 2, and then the denominator becomes 3c m squared, because the m's add, x cubed. From here, we have to move all of this nonsense to the top. So 3, when we move it to the top, is going to become, oh wait, no, I'm sorry, variables. Okay, now here's the key thing. They say variables. Is 3 a variable? No, it's not. So we're not going to move 3 to the top. 3 will stay on the bottom. However, all these letters are variables, so we will move them to the top. So the numerator, we get c negative 1, w negative 4, x negative 1, and then this m, when we move the m to the top, we now have m negative 7, m negative 1. Those combine and give us m negative 8, all over 3. Then we copy our minus sign, and we start over here. Now, before I start even moving anything to the top, I'll see I've got c over c. That can cancel. So I don't have to move c at all. So now I'll move the m. m2 becomes m negative 2, and m negative 2 and m negative 2 give me m to the negative 4. Then I move the x to the top. That gives me x negative 3. And then I still have w2. I still have w squared, all over the whole number 3. Now these problems can get a little confusing, especially if you don't write neatly. So make sure you check all of your exponents and variables and make sure that you've not left any out.